Hello, and welcome to our baccalaureate ceremony to celebrate Bentley University's centennial class of 2017. I first want to thank everybody for being here with us today. I also want to congratulate all of my fellow graduates on such a momentous accomplishment. We made it through all our GB classes, our group projects, those fierce New England winters, and of course, the Bahamas. I also want to say thank you to our friends, families, and the entire Bentley community for helping us through this amazing journey. We could not have done it without you. We've been told, as the Centennial class, we've been told that we are special since before we even set foot on Bentley's campus. 100 years of excellence, and we're what Bentley has to show for it. After spending 4 years at this beautiful university with all of these intelligent, determined, and compassionate graduates, as well as our wonderful staff and faculty, I can say with certainty that we are a class to remember. This afternoon, we will get advice from our distinguished staff and faculty members, reflect on the times that we have shared together, and most importantly, celebrate over 900 graduates and all of their unique accomplishments. Thank you again for being here, and without further delay, please enjoy the 2017 Baccalaureate celebration.
It has been my utter joy to work with the senior class cabinet in planning the centennial year baccalaureate service. So I would like to invite our class cab members to stand so we might give them an enthusiastic recognition. Indeed, this is a day of great joy for all of us. It seems like there is something in the very cathedral of our souls that cries out to express itself in gratitude in this moment. Friends, this is a good time to pause in prayer and reflection in the spirit of gratitude. And so I invite you in the spirit of our Interfaith Center to join me in a prayer of giving thanks. And we will pause at the end so we each might conclude in ways that are in accord with our own personal traditions. Will you pray with me? To the one we name Adonai, Allah, Abba, to the source of life, love, and blessing in the universe. We are in reverence as together we reflect. We thank you for the seasons of our lives, for the beginnings and for the endings, for all of the opportunities and all of the challenges. We pray with such gratitude for the many talents honed and the fine character developed by the women and the men of the class of 2017. We give you thanks for their families and mentors and friends who always believed that this day would come. As our students are now poised on the threshold of transition into a new chapter of life, may they share their gifts with a world yearning for compassion, hungry for justice, and ripe with possibility. Guide us, Holy One, as we boldly step out in faith and in great joy. Amen. And now I call Dr. Chip Wiggins forward to proceed with the academic hooding, and I invite members of the class of 2017 to stand.
The academic hood has been worn by generations of educated men and women. It symbolizes by its colors the academic specialty of the wearer and the university conferring the degree. Tan for business, white for liberal studies, blue and gold for Bentley. At this time, I call upon Stephanie Berard, president of the class of 2017, to receive the academic hood on behalf of the entire class. Ladies and gentlemen of the class of 2017, you've received the insignia of your academic achievements. Wear them proudly for the honor of your alma mater. Welcome to the company of educated men and women. You may be seated.
When I was first asked to speak today, I knew immediately which passage I wanted to read. Micah chapter 6, verses 6 through 8. The prophet Micah has the deepest sympathy for those who are underdogs, the victims of social injustice. What good are sacrifices that we make to God, he said, when our actions are hurtful to others? We should strive to be just, merciful, and humble. His words, with what shall I come before the Lord, bow before the Most High God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with yearling calves? Will the Lord be pleased with the thousands of rams, with myriad streams of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? It has told you, O mortal, what is good and what the Lord demands of you, but to do justice, to be merciful, and to walk humbly with your God. In the Hebrew, Bama akadem Adonai, ikaf le'elohei marom, ha'akademenu v'olot ba'agalim b'nei shana. Hayirtze Adonai ba'alfei elim, b'rivavot nachale shaman, heiten b'chori pishi, peri v'itnit chatat nafshi. Higid lecha adam matov, uma Adonai doresh mimcha, ki imasot mishpat ve'ahavat chesed, v'hatzaneah lechet im Elohecha. Thank you.
Good afternoon, friends, families, and of course, the class of 2017. My name is Justin Woodard.
And I'm Alex Hers.
And together we're honored to be speaking with you today. When the class cabinet first asked us to address the graduating seniors, we were certainly anxious, excited, and most of all humbled. While speaking in front of such a large crowd is always a little anxiety-provoking, I think what was most salient about the invitation was that it was the first time that your graduation was made a reality for us. Your graduation. It struck such a chord since Alex and I began this Bentley journey with you 4 seemingly short years ago. I oversaw the Trees complex at the time.
And I oversaw Slade Hall.
I know. And rounding us out, somewhere in this crowd, is our counterpart, Miss Jamie Bang, who held down the fort in Miller Hall. Together, the 3 of us worked with you in good times and throughout the struggles of freshman year. And in what seems like a blink of an eye, here we are, 4 years later, at Baccalaureate, offering comments and reflections on your journey to this moment.
When Justin and I first sat down to discuss the content of our remarks, we asked one another, what insight can we offer others who will soon enter the real world? As we listed our ideas, we became slightly concerned. In fact, as we started meeting to prepare our remarks, we entitled our shared Google document, Random Musings and Unqualified Advice from 2 guys who never left college. We realized that some of our habits are worth sharing and others are not all that advisable. For example, while I've made great connections with a dog walking group in my apartment complex,
I've made great connections with the bartenders down the road at City Streets. And while I've traveled to, that's what Trees does to you, and While I've traveled to over 34 states, road tripping and seeing the sights,
I've made it through all 177 episodes of Power Rangers currently streaming on Netflix.
and if settling down and marrying a partner or starting a family are anywhere in your 5-year plan, I would look for advice from just about anyone other than the two of us.
Agreed. But I recently connected with a student in the Dunkin' Donuts in Collins Hall, and as I was waiting for the meeting to start, I had a flashback to the first time I realized there was a Dunks right here on campus. I was interviewing at Bentley while finishing up my graduate program in Ohio, and the nearest Dunkin' Donuts there was over 45 minutes away. When I received an offer to work here 5 years ago, that Dunks felt like a sign from the universe that this was where I was supposed to be as I started a new chapter. I know, it sounds ridiculous, but it did. These days, I honestly often forget that we have a Dunks on campus. I blanch at the idea of leaving the student center when there is an Argo tea in the building or a Keurig in the office, and most of the time, I go to Dunks as an excuse to take a break from work. So I don't think it would be helpful to come to work every day and feel enthralled by the fact that there is a Dunks right on campus. But I do want to stay attentive to the energy that I felt when I first learned about that Dunkin' Donuts. It was the energy that represented a major transition in my life, and it was accompanied by thoughts of wonder and curiosity regarding what was about to happen as I embarked on a new journey.
Alex and I want to give you a similar opportunity to go back in time and harness that energy that you first felt as you began your Bentley journey. So we ask, sit back, close your eyes, don't fall asleep, and go back to your first day on campus in the fall of 2013.
We're looking, close those eyes. Where were you living?
Who was the first person you connected with?
How did your first group project go?
What was your first spring day like? My follow-up, did you sing along to Kelly Pickler?
What was the best class that you took at Bentley?
How did you feel when you landed your first internship?
Who is a staff or faculty member that helped you grow as a leader?
And what is a moment from commencement week that will stay with you?
Please open your eyes. Undoubtedly, the version of yourself sitting in these seats today is distinct from the self that you just visualized. How could it not be? You've experienced so much over the past 4 years, and it would be impossible for you to graduate from Bentley without having developed into a more thoughtful and self-aware version of yourself.
And it's not just you that's changed. The very face of Bentley's campus has evolved alongside you. From the Student Center renovation to the refurbished Jennison Hall, and now to the scaffolding on the multipurpose arena, the institution itself has grown up around you. And though it may not be obvious, the faculty and staff at Bentley have also transformed over these past 4 years, largely thanks to you. And while we can't speak for all of our colleagues, Alex and I can confidently tell you how you've impacted us.
You all remind us why we choose to work on a college campus. Your class has shown us how much we've learned over the past 4 years and how much we still don't know. Thanks to you, we're more compassionate, a little smarter, super nimble, and more prepared to support future Bentley students as a result of the knowledge and experience we've gained alongside all of you.
As Alex and I mentioned earlier, we began compiling our remarks with the fear that we were grossly unqualified to speak in front of you today. We haven't established a 5-year plan for the future of our careers. We haven't mastered the balance of a healthy social life, and we're far from expert on finding a romantic partner. But the thing is, we're always going to think that we're more unqualified than we really are. And with that recognition, we want to offer some very brief, unsolicited advice.
Up until this moment in your life, you have likely been following a blueprint for success. Now, you're at a point where the next stage of design is undetermined. It's time to craft a new plan and direction for the future. And as you do, remember that there's nothing wrong with the good plan so long as you're open to the idea of changing it.
For those of you already on a path, remember it's always a winding one. Where you think you're headed is often rarely where you end up. Your first job won't be your last. Your first apartment won't be your forever home, nor will your family's house. And your current friend group will continue to evolve and expand.
Be open to life's twists and turns, its surprises, its defeats, and wake up every day with the thought, I wonder what will happen today. It's curiosity that keeps us going. The unknown is frightening at times, intimidating even, but also invigorating.
And for those of you who find yourselves at a crossroads, perhaps feeling directionless, remember these wise words from Slick in the hit show Battlestar Galactica. Sometimes lost is where you need to be. Just because you don't know your direction doesn't mean you don't have one. And for the record, I do recognize that is the nerdiest comment since Alex's Power Rangers bit earlier.
Yeah, it sure is. Pascal Mercier, a Swiss philosopher, once wrote, "We leave something of ourselves behind when we leave a place. We stay there, even though we go away." This point resonates with us because as you prepare to depart to new ventures, new opportunities, and new places, Justin and I remain. Your faculty, mentors, and supervisors remain. The halls you walked, the buildings you lived in, the green spaces you played on, all remain.
What encourages us, though, is summed up by Mercier's finishing thought, and he writes, "There are things in us that we can find again only by going back." So, don't be strangers, and remember, Falcons, whether you fly near or fly far, never forget you can always fly home.
Congratulations, class of 2017. We'll miss you guys.
As the class of 2017, we've had a pretty unique experience here at Bentley. We've spent our past 4 years building up the excitement for what we would know as our epic senior year because of the centennial. We've made our own lasting memories, but I think the one thing that stands consistent every year has been change, and that's been kind of different from some of the classes before us. As a tour guide, I get to walk around campus almost every day and see all the buildings that have changed around us, and it's pretty cool that I get to see how our experiences have changed the buildings and how they've grown because of us. Thinking about the Bentley that existed in 2013 and thinking about the Bentley that we're leaving now in 2017, it's a completely different place, all because of us. I remember a couple weeks ago, Bentley University shared a couple pictures on Facebook, and it was an album from our freshman orientation. And so my roommates and I looked through the pictures, and we only cried a couple times, but most of it was warm nostalgia. And I know that a couple years down the line, when we look at a campus map, we're gonna feel the same way about seeing memories and seeing the way that the campus has transformed. For construction on campus, it's obvious that the multipurpose arena has been the one that everyone's looking forward to the most, but it's also obvious that it came as a direct result of student experience and student feedback, all thanks to the top shelf. Shout out to you guys. Jason will talk a little bit more about that after. I personally attended a lot of the hockey games. I remember one time specifically, freshman year, I went with my parents, and we were dying at some of the things that Top Shelf was coming up with for insults to the other team. There was one guy with long hair, and they were chanting Head and Shoulders at him, so that was really funny. But it's also cool to me that every renovation on campus has come as a result of student experience. So thinking about the student center, I mean, clubs and activities needed a better space to have meetings there. And Club Main Bowl on Saturday nights, we definitely needed a bigger space there, so they transformed the pub for us. The Jennison renovations up there, the classrooms just weren't sufficient, and it's probably good that they finished that construction so soon, because thinking about having science classrooms in the Fenway Skybox, where there's hazardous materials and also a fireplace, just doesn't sound like a good idea to me. So then you come down here, and you see the turf, and that has changed as well. I mean, they moved the B over to the lower green space. So that reminds us of all the times that either we came out here and played our own sports games, or if you're anything like me, you came and watched your friends play their games, because I'm the girl that threw her Fitbit out with a pizza box. So that definitely was not me playing the games. But getting to come down and watch your friends and getting to relive those days by seeing the B on the lower green space definitely makes it memorable. And finally, while the renovations were certainly much smaller, they've updated the dorm buildings as we've gone here. And walking through this past week and seeing that trees is now no longer blank white hospital walls, but they are now blue and orange, kind of brings us back to our freshman year. The funny smell hasn't gone away, but I don't think that's something we'll miss. But we'll get to sit on each other's beds and think about all the times that we just were there for each other whenever we needed it. We were there to laugh, we were there to cry, we were there to celebrate good and really bad grades. So that's what trees brings back for us. I know I've changed a lot myself in my time here. I haven't had any reconstruction done, so that's where the theme ends right there. But I've definitely been influenced by my experiences here, and Bentley has changed who I am as a person. It's made me view the world around me so differently. I am so grateful for every experience that I've been given here at Bentley, and it's convinced me to give back to others to prove it. I remember a couple weeks ago, my FYS facilitator, Jose Gutierrez, sent me a screenshot of a project that I did for my FYS class. It was like a final project. And I wrote about this poster that I had in my room, and it said, "Don't let the world change you." And at the time, freshman year, I was like, nope, not letting the world change me. But looking back now as a senior, I'm like, okay, it's okay that I let Bentley change me a little bit, because I like who I am now because of Bentley. So I definitely know that it wasn't easy for me to get through these 4 years. And I also recognize to anyone who is my roommate, has been on an e-board with me or anything like that, that it has not been easy for you guys either to be around me in a stressful situation. But I think now I'm a much stronger and smarter person because of that, and I'm really grateful for all those opportunities. A lot of people here call me a mom, so it's not surprising that 10, 15, 20 years down the line, I look forward to bringing my kids back to campus and walking them around and showing them some of the memories and experiences that we had through the way that the campus looks then. So while Bentley has changed all of us in so many ways, I think it's pretty awesome that we have changed Bentley as well, and that's something that I'll remember forever. Thanks, guys.
The verses which I will be reciting today remind us of two main concepts. The first is being thankful towards God for all of his blessings upon us, including us graduating tomorrow. The second is they remind us to remain ethical in all instances of our lives, irrespective of the different opportunities that may end up presenting themselves. I will start off with a translation of the verses before reciting the verses themselves. The translation reads, "The beneficent, he who taught humankind the Quran, he who created humanity, he who taught people how to express themselves in eloquent speech. The sun and moon are bound by fixed calculation, and the vine and the tree prostrate to him. He raised the sky high and has placed the scale, so that you shall not be wrongful in weighing. Observe the correct weight with earnest and do not make weight deficient." أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان صدق الله العظيم. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to my classmates for this opportunity. It's an honor to speak at one of the first and last occasions that our graduating class is grouped together and not taking a common GB exam. I'm very appreciative of having the chance to speak at this occasion and did not take a moment of preparation for granted. Before sharing what I have prepared for you today, I would be remiss not to recognize Brandon Grano. For those of you who do not know, Brandon passed away during the fall 2015 semester and was also a member of the class of 2017. Speaking on the behalf of my classmates, we are all thinking of Brandon and his family during this weekend's events. Today's speech will be brief. Aspects of the speech may not make complete sense to you, but I'm liberated by the fact that absolutely nobody will remember me or my message of the day 20 years from now. The two messages in store vary greatly and apply to different aspects of our lives, and they go as such. First, leave your comfort zone. Bilbo Baggins, from the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings trilogies, was originally content to remain living the life that he was accustomed to, despite Gandalf's initial pleadings for aid in regaining control of the Lonely Mountain. However, after an evening of dining and drinking with the dwarves, he was convinced to take part in the unexpected journey. Initially, Bilbo was out of place and longed for his return to the Shire. But over time, he gained the courage to fight alongside the dwarves, ultimately take down Smaug, and recapture the Lonely Mountain. It took many near-death experiences in unfamiliar situations for Bilbo to discover the braveness and boldness inside of him. And that is not something that he would have learned in the Shire. For myself, you might ask, leaving my comfort zone was making the decision to transfer here. I attended the University of New Hampshire with more than 100 people that I went to high school with during my freshman year. And out of that group of people, I was very close with many of them. And here you might ask, I only knew one person coming in. There were instances in my first year here that made me seriously question my decision. But as time passed, I began to realize that I was surrounded by a group of people that had aspirations and characteristics that I never knew existed in people my age. Eventually, I found myself aiming higher and developing traits that I would not have today had I remained in New Hampshire. I can't say that everything has gone as scripted, but I would not be here today if not for the camaraderie that I have developed with my classmates. In summation, you too may find out something about yourself, for better or worse, when you leave your comfort zone. But know that it is better to challenge yourself and repeatedly stumble than it is to remain in the same place and build up a great collection of coulda, shoulda, wouldas. My second and final message to the class of 2017 is to remember how we got to this point, and more importantly, who helped us get here. As said by Sir Isaac Newton, if we can see further ahead than others, it is because we are standing on the shoulders of giants. Bentley University is not where it is in its centennial year without the efforts of people like Harry Bentley himself, Gary Jennison, Bob Smith, and Gloria Larson. And it's important that we know that they and our parents and guardians are significant reasons why we all have such a bright future. With that said, I challenge every one of you to make the most of the resources that our predecessors have provided us, so that one day the next generation of Bentley students can reach unparalleled and unseen heights, and so that TMZ and other major tabloids do not mistake our school for a Bentley auto dealership when Kylie Jenner visits campus. So in closing, do not fear leaving your comfort zone, as you may find skills and characteristics that you never knew you had. And remember how you got to this point, because someday those who follow us here are going to use your stature to get to where they want to go. Thank you.
We pause now to remember those persons who have passed away and whose love remains with us. In tribute to them, we will pause in silent reflection. Then we will recite the names contributed by our community, the Bentley class of 2017. We remember Dina Brand, Evelyn Brooks, George W. Brooks, Janet Calloway, Lionel Junie Carbonneau, Michael J. Carbonneau, Edward Charist, Jiddo Eliash Shui, Joanne Clanton, Brett Cohen, Mahesh Desai, Maria DeMarco, Antonino DeMarco, William James Farrell, Patty Flynn, Helen Galvin, Mario Gervasi, Brandon Grano, Coach Sandy Hoffman, Norman Huntress Sr., Jason Jablonski.
We remember John Robert James, Joe Johnson, Robert Joyce, Rosemary Kaminsky, Thomas T.K. Kennedy, Warren Klein, Irving A. Knight, Francis LaPierre, Esmond Lennon Henry, Thomas Leonard, Ruth Lonke, Miguel Lopez, Angelo Tony Lorenzo, Mary Mangan, William Mangan, Marcelo Martinez, Josh McLean, John Walter McPadden Sr., Marilyn Mulcahy, Philip Mulcahy, Beverly Nolden, Diane Nolden.
We remember Michael Newless, Christopher Panufnik, Harlan R. Pinkham, Blanca Iris Rivera, Maria Cristina Rodriguez, Dennis Ryan Jr., Zahid Zafai, Tony L. Shaw Sr., James Sheridan, Eleanor Smith, Harry Smith, Paula Smith, Mary K. Suki, Martin Toth, Stephen Angelo Vano, Vincent Verderosa, Madeline Volberg, Carlton Whitaker, Ariel Eldred Wynot, Justin Williams, Alba Zarnitz, Edward Zarnitz. Amen.
Throughout college, there have been many times when we have not had a clear plan of what to do next, whether it was what internship to pick, what job offer to pursue, and many others. However, when I run into times like this, I'll always remember this verse, as I know that God has promised that He has an amazing plan for our lives, even if we may not be able to see it in that moment. As we leave this place we have called home for 4 years, we may not know what exactly is coming down the road. But we do know that we have a God who is in control and has a plan for our future. As a leader in the Protestant community, I am excited to read from Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future.
As college students at Bentley, it's easy to get overwhelmed and stressed by an unfavorable situation. This will continue to ring true as we graduate and move on into our individual careers. What I found, though, is that the best way to handle these situations is to pause, take a deep breath, relax my muscles, and recognize that no matter how bad the situation might seem, in all reality, it's really not that bad, and that God will always take care of us. As a leader in the Catholic community, I will share from Matthew 6. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? And can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your span of life? And why do you worry about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not clothed like one of these. Therefore, do not worry by saying, what will we eat, or what will we drink, or what will we wear? But strive first for the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well.
Thank you.
I lost my voice this past week, so we're going to give it the college try. So, looking back on my career as a Bentley Falcon, I came to realize and understand two very important notions outside all of the finance and accounting. That nothing is impossible and that we can all change. First, nothing is impossible. I remember the first time I set foot on Bentley's campus. I, like most of you, the first time I came to Bentley was on a tour. I remember walking around campus a clear June afternoon. I admired all the red brick, the landscaping, and especially the trading room. But there was one thing I could not wrap my head around. Where was the hockey rink? I knew that our team was Division I, and I just figured the rink was tucked away somewhere behind all the athletic fields. Hockey had always been a piece of me. I began playing when I was just 4 years old. And when I arrived at Bentley, I was excited to make it a part of my Bentley experience. Fast forward a year and a half, I've been on campus a few weeks, and the first hockey game rolls around. So I bet you can imagine my surprise when I was instructed to get on a yellow school bus and take a ride over the John A. Ryan Arena, better known as the Jar. I honestly could not believe my eyes. How could a Division I hockey team play at a youth rink all the way in Watertown? It was at that first game that I met some like-minded individuals, and we decided that we were going to build a rink. We barely knew each other, but never mind what it took to build a Division I caliber hockey rink. But the impossibility of that notion never crossed our minds. That first semester, we did everything we could to learn about rinks, how much they cost, who can build them, and where it would go. We called coaches from other programs, visited rinks all over New England, and even made a loan amortization table for the cost of the rink. We figured it was easy for an institution as large and significant as Bentley to say no to a small group of students, but it's quite difficult for them to say no to an entire student body. So we set out for the impossible. Over the course of the next year, we collected over 2,000 signatures supporting our cause and even expressing willingness to have their student activities fee raised to cover the cost. It wasn't long before we began having meetings with the great Dean Andrew Shepardson, who I now consider a friend. Then our cause made it to the Board of Trustees, where we presented our freshman year amortization table to the CFO of the company, because obviously we know how to finance a $40 million arena. Now, many road trips, board meetings, tears, and celebrations later, we can all leave our names on a lasting piece of Bentley history. The new arena symbolizes so much more than a new place to cheer on our hockey team. It symbolizes the impact a unified group of students can have on the world around them and their ability to achieve the impossible. Second, we all change. I was taught that our human character is defined by our experiences. I also understand that it's very rare to be given the opportunity to hit reset on our character. Fortunately for all of us, we have been given this opportunity. No one sitting here today is the same person they were 4 years ago. For better or worse, we have all changed. Personally, I could never have imagined where I would go, all the incredible people I would meet, or the crazy experiences I would have, all of which have made me the man I am today. In high school, I listened to weird music, I really dressed funny, and I never had a true sense of service. Today, I still listen to weird music, I still dress funny, but I have found my sense of service. Most of you probably know about the Service Learning Center here at Bentley. Many of you have been lucky enough to be a fourth credit, but all of you know the center creates a sense of family. Like I mentioned, I never served others in high school. I, like many others, was entirely focused on myself. But the culture of the center and the dedication its program managers and staff have to serving others has changed my character entirely. First semester freshman year, I applied to the center not really knowing what the job would entail or even what service learning was. But after that first year as a program manager, not only did I learn the value of service and the impact it can have on the community around us, but I learned what an incredible family the Service Learning Center really is. Since then, my Bentley experience has been oriented towards service, and I do not think I'm alone. Every year, we as Bentley students conduct over 20,000 hours of service in the greater Waltham area. We as Bentley students dedicate our time to preparing tax returns for those less fortunate, teaching new immigrants English, and ensuring Waltham's youth have the tools to succeed in a globalizing world. So it has been my pleasure to lead the Service Learning Center these past 4 years, and I know that we as a team have made a lasting impact on the community around us. When we leave Bentley, I believe that we will all continue to live our lives under a doctrine of service. Personally, I will continue my tenure at the new Bentley Service Learning and Civic Engagement Center as a graduate assistant while I pursue a graduate degree in finance. But when my career as a Double Falcon comes to an end, I'll begin a new path as a United States Marine. I believe that my time in the United States military will allow me to further pursue my mission of service. But whether we all end up at PwC, the Boston Red Sox, or starting our own wind turbine company, I know that we all change the lives of those around us. So, that being said, it is now my distinct pleasure to welcome to the podium someone you all know so well. Please give a round of applause for Ginger John.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am deeply honored to speak with you today on the occasion of your baccalaureate service and as a representative of my faculty colleagues. This is the third time during my Bentley career that I've been given this wonderful opportunity. First occasion was almost 30 years ago when I addressed the class of 1988, and I remember it well. It was just before the information explosion, and email and the internet were not yet a way of life. In those days, if you wanted to send a text message, you simply passed a handwritten note to your friend in class. And you didn't need a curated selection of 6 emoji or an LOL to indicate your emotional intent. A few cell phones existed in the late 80s, but they were large and cumbersome and mostly relegated to our cars. The students had portable computers, but they needed the help of a friend or a pack mule to carry them around. And they were less powerful than your current phone. No one Googled anything or friended anyone. Since it began in 1986, the baccalaureate service at Bentley has been a time of personal reflection and interfaith spiritual expression as the graduating class approached their special occasion. And given my history and background, I believe I am ideally suited to provide a special ecumenical greeting. As some of you know, I was born and raised in North Carolina, and I can say with authority that there is something unique and special about being raised Jewish in the American South in the 1950s and 1960s. My grandfather, for whom I am named and who died long before I was born, emigrated from what is now Lithuania, arriving in Baltimore in 1899. My grandmother followed a year later, and together they eventually made their way south, settling first in Danville, Virginia, and finally in my hometown of Salisbury, North Carolina. My grandfather had been trained by the rabbi in his small Eastern European village, and he officiated over the rituals for the kosher slaughtering of animals. Since there wasn't a big need for that particular skill set in North Carolina in 1900, he, like many Russian Jewish immigrants, decided to sell pants instead, while occasionally conducting religious services for small towns. He opened a small dry goods store in Salisbury, and eventually he also opened a men's clothing store, and that became the business of his 2 sons, my father and uncle, for over 50 years. I literally grew up in that store. Being an only child and the only Jewish child among my age peers, I always had a unique perspective on the world around me. Although Salisbury had a small temple and an equally small Jewish community with about 25 families, among whom I learned my religious traditions and heritage, my family decided to enroll me in the kindergarten at the local First Presbyterian Church so that I could learn and play with more children my age. I spent most of my time with crayons, finger painting, and enjoying kickball and nap time. But I also learned and participated in traditions and teachings very different from those of my family. You can imagine their surprise when I came home one day and proudly regaled them with a rousing rendition of "Yes, Jesus Loves Me." I thought my Aunt Sadie was going to have a stroke. I had become something totally unique, a Jewish Presbyterian. This identity was reinforced even further when I played center field in the Presbyterian Little League baseball team, along with several of my old friends from kindergarten. We wore red caps. The Baptists wore navy blue, the Methodists wore bright green, and the Lutherans combined red and blue, like the Red Sox. As you can imagine, there was no local Jewish baseball team. Even on the national stage, as far as baseball was concerned, all we had was Sandy Koufax. And those of you who are texting or on Snapchat right now, you can just Google that name. As I progressed through elementary school, I was very fortunate that I was never bullied or harassed. I had a few things working in my favor. I was funny, and I earned a reputation as a gifted sprinter, so I could just outrun everybody. Plus, as I've already mentioned, I was part Presbyterian. But there were times when I was very aware of the uniqueness of my religious and cultural heritage. Some of the parents here today, or maybe even some of the grandparents who are here, might remember when they were school children reading the Weekly Reader student newspaper. Every year in December, the Weekly Reader would feature an article about little Jewish children celebrating Hanukkah. And almost as reliably as the appearance of that article, my teachers would take time to draw attention to Hanukkah, usually while we were having fun drawing Christmas scenes and singing jingle bells, and it came upon a midnight clear. I would look up and realize that 30 pairs of eyes were staring at me, wondering if I was lighting a menorah at my desk, and if Hanukkah really was the Jewish Christmas. I was frequently called upon to explain the meaning of the Festival of Lights, thereby becoming, at age 9, the sole representative and ambassador of 5,000 years of Jewish history and culture. A bit later, many of my school friends attended my bar mitzvah and witnessed what was to become my first lecture. I was pleased that the Presbyterian minister was also there, especially because he could read Hebrew, and he assured me that I had gotten every word correct as I recited my Torah reading, much to the delight of my parents and Hebrew teacher. I also got laughs from the congregation during my speech. I think that was when I decided to become a college professor and speak at baccalaureate ceremonies. I am proud that to this day, I remain one of the nation's leading Jewish Presbyterians. There aren't many of us. In retrospect, after 40 years of study, teaching, research, and intensive psychotherapy, I now realize that this was my first of many experiences in what is known here at Bentley University as fusion. As an undergraduate at the University of North Carolina, I combined my business administration major with psychology courses. My doctoral training in organizational psychology at the University of Tennessee was from an interdisciplinary program, and I am proud to be a Bentley professor in 2 departments connecting business with the arts and sciences through management and psychology. And for the last 38 years, it has been my great joy and privilege to teach interpersonal relations in management with a particular focus on emotional intelligence and empathy to thousands of Bentley students. So, what does my story of cultural blending mean for you, the centennial class of 2017, as you prepare to leave this place that has been your home for these last few years. You are about to go out into a society that has become more rigidly divided along historical fault lines of race, gender, sexual orientation, class, culture, religion, and politics. Rising populist nationalism is a worldwide phenomenon. In response to the impact of globalization, technology, rapid change, and growing uncertainty, many people have sought solace by reverting to what is known and comfortable, reinforced by customized news feeds and media echo chambers, and viewing the designated other with suspicion, harsh judgment, and even hostility. At one level, it's fun to indulge our tribal instincts by being a part of Red Sox Nation and cheering for the home teams, whether the Patriots, Bruins, Celtics, Yankees, Real Madrid, the Bentley Falcons, or the North Carolina Tar Heels. Beyond the games and rituals, however, bridging these growing divides is complex and difficult, and begins not with grand programs, but with small steps taken by each of us as individuals. In their insightful book, Lost in Familiar Places, Edward Shapiro and Wesley Carr, an American psychoanalyst and a British minister who is also Dean of Bristol Cathedral, conclude that our created realities are in actuality negotiated interpretations. We can find ways to accept opposing views and respectfully disagree, fully recognizing our interdependent relationships in a larger context. As President Kennedy so eloquently stated in his famous commencement address in 1963 at American University, seeking peace during the height of the Cold War with the then Soviet Union, if we cannot end now our differences, at least we can make the world safe for diversity. For in the final analysis, our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's futures, and we are all mortal. Fortunately for all of us, my experience with your generation tells me that you are much more comfortable with diversity of all kinds, and you are inclined to see and reach beyond rigid boundaries to find creative ways to connect. That is what you've done here, and it is our basis of hope for the future that we invest in you, and why we are gathered here today under a large tent, along with those who love you and are so proud that you have reached this incredible milestone in your lives, and why we call tomorrow commencement. I still hear from some of those students from 1988, now in their early 50s and planning their 30th reunion next year. In fact, some of them are your parents. I love hearing from my former students, and I hope that in the coming years, I will hear from many of you. Of course, you may have to remind me of who you are. For that matter, you may have to remind me of who I am. But we will certainly remember that we shared this very special day together. For those of you whom I've had the pleasure to teach, thank you for learning along with this Jewish Presbyterian. And to all of you, congratulations and best wishes.
better than this when you only got 100 years to live.
I'm 33 for a moment, still the man, but you see I'm a there, kid on the way, babe, a family on my mind.
I'm 45 for a moment, the sea is high and I'm heading into a crisis, chasing the years of my life.
15, there's still time for you, time to buy and time to lose yourself within a morning star. 15, I'm alright with you. 15,
There's never a wish better than this when you
only got 100 years to live. Half the time goes by, suddenly you're wise. Another blink of an eye, 67 is gone, the sun is getting high, we're moving on.
I'm 99 for a moment, dying for just another moment, and I'm just dreaming, counting the ways to where you are.
15, there's still time for you, time to buy and time to lose. 15, there's never a wish better than this when you only got 100 years to live.
How on earth do I follow that? Would have rather gone after the roller coaster. Good afternoon. While it might not be quite official yet, it is my distinct honor to be the first to address you as my fellow alumni. My name is David Schiegelite, and I'm a proud member of the class of 1993. I'm also honored to serve on the Bentley Alumni Association's Global Alumni Board, a group of Bentley alumni who just can't seem to let go. Several of my fellow alumni board members are here this weekend to not only celebrate with you, but to welcome you. And I'd like to recognize them and thank them for all their time and efforts. Guys, stand up real quick for me. Thank you. You're going to hear a lot of speeches in the next 24 hours. Bear with us. We just don't think that 4 years of advice on how to live your life is quite enough. Among those speeches, you will hear the phrase, "as you leave Bentley." Respectfully, I disagree. None of you are leaving Bentley. Even if you want to, you're not leaving Bentley. You may be leaving campus, but not Bentley. Bentley is not a campus. Bentley is not brick and mortar. It's not the green space, and it's not going to be that awesome new arena. Bentley is you and me and your fellow alumni. From Athens to Annapolis, from San Francisco to Sao Paulo, from Lowell to Laguna Beach, no matter where a falcon lands, we're there. And no matter where you go, we will find you. Trust me, we will find you. A Red Sox fan? Sox versus A's, Oakland Coliseum, tomorrow afternoon. There'll be about 40 of us there. Want to do some job networking in Los Angeles next Wednesday, Century City, there'll be about 20 of us there. From hiking trips in Arizona, dinners in London, and cricket matches in Mumbai, we will come together with any excuse to swap stories, brag on our accomplishments, and yes, ask for job leads. So when you take flight, go ahead and take some risks. There will be 60,000 of us there to pick you up if you stumble. As we stand up here and preach to you the very true, legitimate virtues of making a positive difference in the world, being true to yourself, and building a better tomorrow with your contributions, keep one more thing in mind. There is absolutely nothing wrong with making a boatload of money when you're doing it. And on that note, think about the names all around you these last 4 years. Collins, Smith, McCallum, Falcone, Miller, and Freddie. These aren't just some really cool old alumni who like to hang around campus a lot. These are alumni who achieved greatness after they graduated and then returned to share that greatness with Bentley. Bentley is great. You make Bentley great. I make Bentley great. Your fellow alumni make Bentley great. And while we can all look at the achievements rightfully in a different way, I hope we can all agree that one of the greatest measures is what you do for those that come after you. So I ask you to join us in continuing your support of our alma mater. We are Bentley. That legacy belongs to us. We will continue to make it great by what we do for those that come after us. You have earned the ability to achieve greatness, and I challenge you to join the ranks of Bentley's greatest. Falcons, take flight, and God bless. Thank you.
We invite the class of 2017 to join in the unison prayer found on the back of the bulletin. We gather this afternoon to celebrate our accomplishments in the spirit of gratitude. May we be mindful of everything that has enabled us to reach this day, the gifts of our families, the support of our friends and communities, the efforts of our teachers, and the facilities of this institution. May we remember that all life is worthy of respect and love, that all living beings are interdependent, and that what feeds our neighbors nourishes us as well. May we be lifelong learners who seek to develop as individuals and enrich the community. May we have the courage to stand up for what is right. May we live and love to the fullest of our capacity. And may we always remember that we contribute to communities, nations, and the world. Amen.
As you are able, I invite you to stand. As we go forth from this one unifying, big, beautiful tent to live our lives to the fullness of our capacities, my colleagues and I have a final interfaith blessing to extend to you. In the words of American poet Gwendolyn Brooks, we are each other's business. We are each other's harvest. We are each other's magnitude and bond.
May the Holy One bless and keep you all.
May the divine creator shine upon you and give you peace.
May you live in confident trust without worry for tomorrow.
And may you go forth to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God.
Amen.
Amen.